I'm Jenny Carlson here with Gina Mizell. We're at AT&T Stadium where Oklahoma State has lost to Missouri in the Cotton Bowl 41-31. It was a thriller of a game really in the fourth quarter. The first three quarters kind of clunked along, but then they traded scores in the fourth quarter. It was really exciting, but offensively, the Cowboys just didn't give themselves a chance to ultimately win this game.
Yeah, you mentioned the first three quarters were kind of a clunker, and yeah, Oklahoma State's offense just sputtered along throughout those first three periods, had struggled to run the football up the middle, struggled to convert on third down, and just really couldn't put any points on the board. And then, yeah, the fourth quarter came along, and it was just this huge flurry of points, 48 points scored with the two teams combined, but Oklahoma State ultimately couldn't finish it off in the end with Clint Shelf getting stripped by Michael Sam, and his teammate takes it 73 yards for the opposing touchdown, and that's really what sealed the deal with a minute left.
Well, because of the transition that we saw the offense go through, did you feel like something changed? Was it all Clint Shelf coming to start to play? Was it an offensive line that figured something out? What changed when they really got going?
Clint Shelf started to distribute the ball to several other receivers. Tracy Moore had a really big day in his final game as a Cowboy, had a really key catch on one of those touchdown drives where he laid out for a 40-yard grab, and just, Charlie Moore made some plays. Josh Stewart obviously made some plays, had the one touchdown early and was a consistent force throughout, and Juwan Seals came up with a 21-yard touchdown that kind of got things going for the Cowboys, but really they also got some help from their defense. A couple big turnovers. James Castleman got a fumble recovery. Sean Lewis forced a fumble on an option pitch that led to a field goal, so kind of needed some help to get going. But yeah, the pass game is really kind of what got going for Shelf, but he also had two key interceptions and obviously that key fumble as well.
Well, you mentioned the defense, and we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about how well they really did play pretty well. I mean, they did give up points, but this is a Missouri team that has clicked along against a lot of really good SEC teams this year, and this defense really stood toe-to-toe with them pretty well. They ultimately kind of broke down. I think they got tired in the end, but a pretty good performance by this Cowboy defense, much like their season, sort of waiting on the offense to get going, and it was very much similar in this game.
Yeah, really good against James Franklin, who was obviously a little bit off in this game, too. A lot of his throws were not on target, but they were able to get a little bit of pressure, kind of force him out of the pocket, and Justin Gilbert obviously comes up with an interception, and then those two fumbles that I mentioned earlier. So yeah, they for the majority of the time they played their part, and then again it was just so back and forth in the fourth quarter that it was kind of, you thought it would be who would have the ball last, and you thought it was going to be Oklahoma State when they were driving down the field and looked like they were maybe going to at least score a touchdown or at least try to kick the game-winning field goal, but then again that key turnover turned out to be the difference.
All right, lastly, let's talk about sort of the legacy of this season. Now that 2013 is over and we've turned the page into 2014, how are we going to look back at this season, this 2013 season for the Cowboys?
Interesting. That's the best way I would describe it. I mean, it's a team that came in with all these lofty preseason expectations, expected to win the league because they had a returning starter at quarterback. They had 28 seniors at all these key positions, stuff we've talked about all season long. Then you lose that game at West Virginia, and everyone thought the season was over. And to rally back to win 7 games in a row was a huge accomplishment, and to win 10 games. But I think the sting of that Bedlam loss in the last second, this game obviously went down to the wire. And this is now a program that expects to win all these games. So these become even more magnified. And so certainly the way that the season ended was a disappointment. That obviously that loss in Morgantown was a huge disappointment. So overall, I think a successful season for the Cowboys, but I think fans and players and coaches will kind of walk away thinking that it could have been a lot more. It could have been a Big 12 title, could have been a return to a BCS game, and tonight they certainly had a chance to win the Cotton Bowl.
All right, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.